Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Blue Jays Today. We're your boys. We always got something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog. And today, folks, we're going to be talking about Bo Bichette's most recent comments about him, about a potential extension with him, about potentially bringing in some more players for the Toronto Blue Jays, and then just the season upcoming, what he is expecting, what they need to do to take that next step. Pun not intended. Before we get into it, folks, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, let us know your thoughts down below.
Yo, just side comment. They got to get rid of that hashtag next season, man. It can't be next level. None of that.
No. The new hashtag, let's start it here, actually. Let's start it right here, everybody. If you are watching this on YouTube, wherever you're watching this or you're listening to it, then tweet this out. Hashtag bad for baseball.
Yeah.
Bad for baseball.
I like that. We should be bad for baseball. I love that. Why haven't we owned that?
Let's own it. You know what I mean? Like,
it.
if literally like, all of these analysts are going to come out and say, oh, Toronto Blue Jays bad for baseball, let's freaking own it, baby. Let's be bad for baseball all the way to the World Series.
I love it, bro. Yeah. The bad boys. All right.
Let's get into what Bo Bichette.
Let's talk about one of those bad boys.
Yeah. Let's get into it, dude. The first thing that he was coming out with, the first thing that we want to touch on here is the extension talks. Quick shout out, though, very quickly to Battlegrounds, everybody. If you guys have a birthday coming up, you have an event, literally anything, Valentine's Day, maybe go on there for a date. Very safe, very, very fun. Throw some axes. It is freaking awesome. So shout out to Brandon Weil for tweeting this. It is a long one. I'm going to do my best to read it off for you guys, but this is coming from Bo Bichette. He says, I know fans get antsy about that stuff, but I just think right now our best mental energy is to focus on getting things right. That time will come. I am sure it will. Whether they are thinking that or not, I'm not sure. I haven't had that conversation yet this offseason, but I think right now our best time spent is trying to figure out how we're going to take the next step. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Here we go again.
Yeah. We haven't gotten better every year like we expected to. Preach it, Bo. Right now, there's more important things that need to be handled. And just for clarification, folks, that entire blurb, he is referencing an extension with the Toronto Blue Jays. So he said a lot there. What are some takeaways for you?
Well, my first takeaway is, obviously the Blue Jays have not been really talking into Bo Bichette about any extension right now. They got the extension, the quote-unquote extension done last year where they just finished his arbitration years under contract with the Toronto Blue Jays. Right now, I think he's saying the right things to kind of protect himself and protect the fans from any sort of upset right now. It's the politics of baseball, right? You don't want to come out and say like, yeah, I really want an extension done, because then, that's going to play into those contract talks. Right now, it's kind of just playing it even. Right now, I'm thinking it's the same conversation or the same expectation as we have. We got to see something happen for the Blue Jays to play well. And I don't think this quote's kind of changing that. I think we've always expected that if they play well, if the Blue Jays go on some magical run, then maybe those conversations start to become a reality. Maybe those numbers start to become a little bit more definite, right? Because we don't know what the number is for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but I think we're starting to see a little bit more of a definite number for Bo Bichette, but I think you're going to get that closer to that number of reality probably after next season.
Yeah, I agree, right? I mean, you just need that time frame to know exactly what it is that you're worth, right? How much are the Toronto Blue Jays willing to give to you and commit to you long term? Now, even though I am upset at the fact that they're not really engaging in the conversations right now about the extension, I think that they're going about it the right way in the sense that, look, we're not really willing to keep this window open forever if we're not going to go out and we're not going to take the next step and we're not going to win, right? Because at the end of the day, Bo Bichette is an amazing player and he's now kind of blossoming into a leader, which we're going to get into a little bit later. But if you're not winning baseball games and you're not actually leading this team to, play places in the playoffs, if it's not working, then there's no point in locking you down for a decade, right? Maybe it is then time to start again and to start the rebuild. So I think from a management's perspective, they're going about it the right way in the sense, we got to see you guys win, and then we are going to give you all the money in the world and keep you here and maybe have a historic run with this team. But first things first, let's win a playoff game.
Yeah, I hear you. Now from an optimistic standpoint, I want to pull out one part of this very long quote. And the quote is right here is, that time will come. I'm sure it will. Do you think he's referring just to the conversations in general or the possibility of an extension with Bo Bichette? Do you think he may be hinting at, I'm kind of interested in this conversation too, that time will come, but just not right now?
100%, dude. I mean, you've heard players come out and talk about extensions before, and even though they all tend to walk on eggshells, we can translate a little bit of this, right? When he's saying that time will come, and I'm sure it will, that to me says that he's been thinking about it. He is interested in having those conversations and in staying with the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, hell, the guy was literally on a Toronto Blue Jays podcast, right? If he hated this place, if he hated Toronto, you're not going to be out here. You're not going to be talking about this, right? He's owning being a Toronto Blue Jay, right? So I do think that Bo Bichette, and I'm speaking for him here, right? So to take it with a grain of salt, but I do think that Bo Bichette likes Toronto, likes this team, likes his teammates. And I would imagine that if they gave him a good enough offer, then he would absolutely jump at that.
Look, Bo Bichette's kind of found himself in this leadership role, right? We've always looked at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but for the longest time, it's been that. And now it's turned to shift. Last year, you saw Bo Bichette kind of talking to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the dugout. How many times do you see him talking to Vladdy when Vladdy was going through slumps? Totally. He's kind of giving him advice. That's that leadership role that you're seeing Bo Bichette become. And it is tough. If Bo Bichette leaves the team, does he have that same impact on another team? If he were to extend here, will he kind of develop into the Toronto Blue Jays leader moving forward? I think so.
I think that we're watching it happen, guys. Let's jump over to actually maybe the best quote to really highlight his potential leadership with this squad. Okay, he came out here and he said that we're not a young team anymore. The whole excuses of growing and learning and all that, it's out the window. It is time to be grown. I think we've been through enough experiences at this point, and it's time to get it done. Can we just get a little bit of a sound effect going on right here for Bo Bichette, right? Thank you for saying what it is that I think all Toronto Blue Jays fans have been thinking, okay? Yes, there was that excuse for a long time of, they're rookies and they need playoff experience, and they've never been here before, and the lights are really bright. Bo Bichette's coming out and kind of throwing it down on the table and saying, look, we shouldn't be in a situation where people are talking about us like that, and the lights are not bright for us anymore. We've seen it. We've been there before. Now we need to prove to the entire league. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's honestly, I've kind of heard this last year as well. They've had these same kind of conversations because the media is always going to point to that. Have you guys gone through enough experience yet to feel like you've overcome it? They said that last year when they lost in the playoffs, when they got swept. It's okay, they learned how to not get swept again. Now they got swept twice in a row. And you know what's funny enough, and I was trying to find a quote of it, but I was listening to the Blair Barker podcast. But Bo Bichette even threw in a small comment, didn't make a point about it, but threw in a small comment saying, well, maybe if we're not good enough, then we're not good enough. He threw in that point where it's you can be good and learn from your experiences, but as a team, if you're just not good enough, then maybe you're just not good enough as a team. What do you think about that potential reality? Because this one I feel like has been said and done, but what about the potential reality of them not even being good enough?
Well, I'm kind of happy that he threw that in. Me too. Because I think that you're really approaching it and just being real right now, just saying, look, if we're not going to get it done, then we all need to sit down. We all need to evaluate ourselves and really kind of consider, are we all that? Everyone's been talking about us as this, bright, shining team that is going to go really far. And we've talked about it before, right? MLB and their rankings and, betting sites and everything like that, they always overhype the Blue Jays. We know that they do, and we love it when we see it. But at the same point, as Toronto Blue Jays fans, we're like, maybe that's a little high for the Blue Jays. And these players, they see that too. And if you're not going to win in the postseason, then maybe you aren't all that. And I think that for a lot of these players, if they hear that and they start having those thoughts, that is what is going to kick their ass. That is what is going to kick them into high gear, because that realization of maybe I'm not him, that's the most motivation that you could possibly have to work your ass off and prove to everyone, including yourself, that you are, in fact, the guy.
Yeah, I mean, Bo Bichette, I've seen his maturity grow over the last, 4 years. He's been a Toronto Blue Jay. He's literally our age, and this guy is way more mature beyond any of our years.
Totally.
And he has the understanding of the reality that, maybe they are just not good enough. And you know what? If they're not, maybe that does start to impact a little bit of his own kind of way he approaches the game, because if you realize that you're not that good, that might be the smartest thing to realize as a player. Because if you start thinking like, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, and then there starts to become a mental battle to always meet those expectations. But if you're already saying, look, if we're just not that good, then you could kind of build off of that and grow from it. Okay, now I need to get better. You know what I mean? To kind of highlight what you were saying.
I think that it's always going to be a happy medium, right? Because you can't, it's one of those things, there's a fine line between being arrogant and being confident in your own abilities.
Yeah.
And it is really finding that line about knowing that you belong here, knowing that like this is my space and like I can play this game, but also understanding that I got to keep putting up every day because nothing is guaranteed here, right? And if we don't put up this year, what are they going to be saying about us?
Right.
Let's go.
And I think Bo Bichette knows that it's not just him that needs to do well.
Yes.
He knows that the whole team needs to do well. And on that Blair and Barker podcast, which is literally where all of these quotes are coming from today, folks, is that interview with him. They asked him like, okay, so you're aware the Blue Jays are missing a lot of pieces. There needs to be some sort of addition to help this team go forward. And they asked him actually about that. Like, what are some guys out there that you see kind of joining Toronto Blue Jays? Because we've been talking on here a lot. Peterson, Bellinger, all these guys. But it was interesting to see what guys that Bo Bichette was really interested in.
Yeah.
And honestly, we've kind of been loving these guys. I know a lot of people out there have not been loving on these guys, but we're going to bring them up.
Whoa, time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content.
Bo Bichette actually name dropped Justin Turner and JD Martinez as free agents that could help the Blue Jays. And that's all he mentioned. He didn't mention anybody else. And the reason why he mentioned them, he talked about their characters, like on and off the field. Those are guys who are veteran players that know how to get it done, and they show up and they actually produce the numbers. JD Martinez we'll look at their stats in a bit. He drives in 100 RBIs any given year. Justin Turner knows how to give his best effort any given day. Kind of reminds me of Bo Bichette mentality, where what can I do today to help my team in some sort of way? Those are the guys that he wants to join the Toronto Blue Jays, apparently.
I think it's really interesting, too, that both of these guys, they've won a World Series before, right?
Yeah.
They both have rings under their belt, so they've had that experience in the postseason. And that's something that from the Toronto Blue Jays standpoint, you need that veteran presence in there saying, hey, look, guys, we're down by 2 right now. It is the 6th inning. It is the wild card series. We ain't fucking out of it yet, okay? Like, strap in, boys. We are going the distance here. And I feel like Justin Turner and JD Martinez, like, they would have that presence because they've played in the playoffs many a time before. They've been down bad in games before, and they've come back. They've beaten that challenge, and then they've went on, both of them, to win respective rings.
See, I would have thought that guy would have been Brandon Belt for us last year.
I think he did his best.
I think he did his best, but we didn't get the support from the other cast members.
But I think that these players, right, JD Martinez and Justin Turner, and this is no shade whatsoever to Jorge Soler or Jock Peterson or literally anyone else that you would bring in, but these guys really feel like they are just stepping in to that Brandon Belt role, and he was loved by the players.
Yeah, well, to give actually Jorge Soler some credit, he was with the Atlanta Braves when they won the World Series.
That's true. That is true.
He does have some experience too, but I think there's an age thing, right? And the times of being there multiple times, by these players, I think is a little bit different.
And these guys as well, man, like Justin Turner and JD Martinez, I mean, like, they're both up there in age, and they just don't fall off.
No.
Like, they just keep getting it done, man. JD Martinez, over 100 RBIs last year. I know. He is 36 years old, and whenever you see that number, you go, oh, God, that's a little bit too old. But it don't matter, folks, because this guy is just going to keep getting it done. So we're going to ride him until the wheels fall off. That's what we like him here at Blue Jays today. Justin Turner, same but different. Not quite as good of a year as JD Martinez, but still really, really solid, man. 800 OPS. The guy's 38.
Dude.
The guy's 38, still getting it done. These players will come in. They'll come in for a year. They'll come in maybe 2 years, but they will produce.
Yeah, I mean, in the season of Hall of Fame, we just had the Hall of Fame inductees the other day. I think both these guys could find themselves on a ballot, like for voting.
There'll be conversations.
Maybe not Justin Turner getting in, but I think his name might be in there. JD Martinez, absolutely, with the amount of RBIs this guy has produced in his career. But look, at this point in their career, they're still doing it, like you're saying. And they can influence a team in more than ways than just putting up numbers on the field, like Bo Bichette saying. Off the field, like, everyone's about growing, and I know Bo Bichette's saying like we're done growing, but you're never done growing as a baseball player mentally, right? Your mental is going to be there forever. So I think it's doesn't hurt to bring in someone like this.
Absolutely not, man. Absolutely not. I would love to see one or both of these players coming in. So, folks, that is what Bo Bichette came out and said. I just want to say shout out to Bo for taking the honors, for becoming that leader. Feels like he really is blossoming into that guy. Now it is time to take those words that you just said about how we're not young anymore, but how we got to prove it, all of that shit, put it on the field and prove it, baby. Yeah. Now's the time.
Let's go, guys. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below about Bo Bichette's comments, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Blue Jays Today. $3 a month to become a Patreon member. Shout out to thank you to all of our current Patreon members and to our YouTube members as well. You guys are freaking awesome.
Thanks so much for watching.
And go Jays, go!